This is the speech that I found that I gave that night. Now you got to remember, this was a speech given 28 years ago. We cannot undo the past, and we cannot correct all the wrongs committed against mankind.
The 7-hour discussion, one citizen after the next, some pro, some con, but it really showed us that there was a consensus to broaden the way we tell the history of Richmond, and that the only monumental part of Richmond was in 1861 to 1865.
It is in this vein that a more perfect symbol of decency, dignity, and mutual respect for humankind is offered in the symbolic representation in the person of Arthur Ashe Jr.
A common refrain, I'm sure those like Arthur heard, was, how do you dare want change and be black? How dare you want progress and be black? How dare you be ambitious and be black?
We are celebrating a man who fought for human rights for all people, not just for black people, not just for people of color. Hopefully we can take that synergy out of today and continue to move forward and make sure that our kids are safe as they go to school, that they don't have to worry about guns, that our kids can be educated in schools that aren't falling down around them, and that, you know what, that we have affordable housing. And I believe those would be some of the things that Arthur Ashe should be focusing on, the things that his city is wrestling with today.
With the boulevard being named after Arthur, there will always be kids that will travel the boulevard and say, who is Arthur Ashe? That's significant because Arthur lived a good life. He gave back to the less fortunate, and a lot of people say, yeah, he was a great tennis player, but I say he was a great humanitarian, and that was more important.
And changing the name of it to Arthur Ashe Boulevard it's heartwarming for our family, but I believe that maybe this is kind of the icing on the cake for Richmond, and it's moving forward into being more inclusionary and being more open to ideas that they haven't been open to before.
On June 22nd, we had one of the great moments for the city on our front lawn. And of those 7,000 or so people that came here to this campus, there were a lot of new faces. There were a lot of people that said, I was told this wasn't a place for me, but I'm walking in those doors today.
I think this is just a great start for something very impactful for the near future, and of course, even longer further down the road.
That dedication and the street naming is not a fix to our city's problems or our history, but it's a milestone, and it's something that we can be really proud of, and we can start the movement again forward.
I think it's really important, one, to recognize the truth of history. It's been a long time where people weren't really taught the truth, and you have to understand the truth. I think that's kind of the first step to understanding what's really happened in our history, and acknowledging that and learning from that. I think the more people can be aware of that, the better off we'll be as a community and a society.
We've come too far, and we're not going back.
The importance of museums in the telling of history and culture is that we have the stuff. We collect the artifacts and the remnants and the papers and the diaries and the letters that illuminate our past. It's very different from someone saying, well, I remember, versus saying, let me show you.
There are objects that we've looked at one way for many years, and now how can we look at them through multiple lenses? So the streetcar behind me, yes, that speaks to innovation in Richmond. It speaks to life and growth in Richmond. But this streetcar also was witness to segregation. So interpreting these objects in multiple ways, that it may be something glorious to some, it may also be a symbol of pain to others.
Admittedly, when I first started doing this work and started reading horrible narratives and letters, there was a period of deep, deep anger with the history and the things that I was learning. But I kept reading and I kept learning. And within those stories, there were these remarkable stories of resistance to that. Whether the intent is to give back honor to the enslaved, or whether the intent is to take away the brutality of that system, there are those who, in trying to grapple with the emotional pain of this history, quite frankly, create mythology. Both of those behaviors are reflective of a desire to deal with some kind of pain or trauma. That's where I think we have to be really diligent as museum professionals, as academic historians, as public historians, as cultural historians, to make sure that those stories get out in the best possible ways we can. Our mission is embedded in the idea of diverse voices and committed to sharing the stories of people who in the past may have been marginalized from that American narrative. And the truth is, when you add those voices back in, the picture becomes far more nuanced, far more important, and frankly, far more accurate. As the nation is looking at 400 years of representative government, or the arrival of enslaved Africans, or the arrival of women to its shores here in Virginia, the mere fact that there is recognition of all of those things speaks volumes to not only public expectation, but the important role that museums have played in getting the stories right, finally. We, and I say we as globally as I can, we will never get right with each other unless we get these histories right. And through that, our communities are embracing that as a whole, I think. It's a really wonderful thing. I've been working in museums now for over 30 years, and I have seen the transition, and I remember how difficult it was. And frankly, it is getting easier.
On a more national scale. So I have the opportunity as the representative of the State Museum here to talk to my counterparts in all the 50 states. And a lot of them have been looking to us, looking to Virginia lately, because we've been really, really present in the news, and not for good reasons. And that say, how are you dealing with this? How are you making sure that the museum is relevant and is contributing to progress? And to be able to steer them towards occasions and events and exhibitions in ways in which we are, I think, fulfilling that need and helping the conversation, it's remarkable. It is, this is work that will never go away because you're contributing to the good and to progress.
Don't miss the exhibit, Determined, the 400-Year Struggle for Black Equality, on display at VMHC through March 2020. And visit the American Civil War Museum for a better understanding of the global impact of the Civil War.